What if I told you that emotional exhaustion isn't just about feeling down or having a bad day? Imagine waking up after a full night's sleep, doing everything right, checking every box, and yet still carrying this overwhelming emptiness inside, a kind of tiredness that no amount of rest can fix. All around us, so many adults are living this hidden reality. But why? Why are so many of us not just tired, but emotionally drained, functioning on the outside, but running on empty within? Today, we're digging into the shocking truth about emotional exhaustion and revealing what almost nobody talks about. If you're new here, welcome to the Growth Mindset Project. If you want to see more honest breakdowns on what it means to grow, heal, and thrive as an adult, make sure to subscribe and tap that bell so you won't miss anything we do here. So, what does emotional exhaustion actually look like, and why does it seem like it's everywhere among adults today? Here's a fact that might surprise you. Emotionally exhausted adults rarely stand out. They aren't the ones causing a scene or falling apart in public. In fact, often, they're the reliable ones. The coworker you count on, the family member who always keeps it together, the friend who listens to everyone else but says little about themselves. What makes this so complicated is how invisible emotional exhaustion can be. These adults are showing up to work, responding to messages, helping others, and ticking off achievements. From the outside, everything seems stable, even impressive. But on the inside, there's a profound fatigue, a heaviness that coffee, vacation days, or simple sleep just can't recharge. You see, emotional exhaustion builds up slowly. There usually isn't a single event that tips someone over the edge. Instead, it accumulates, step by quiet step. Maybe a little less enthusiasm for the things they used to love, maybe more irritability or impatience than before, maybe a persistent sense of detachment, like life is happening to someone else. Adults who learned early on that emotions should be suppressed or managed often end up carrying these invisible loads for years, believing their worth is directly tied to how much they can handle. For many, it began way back, maybe in childhood, maybe in adolescence. Some people had to grow up quickly, becoming the mature one, the peacemaker, the fixer. Over time, they unconsciously learned a dangerous lesson. Strength equals managing everything on your own. Worth equals how much pressure you can absorb. So, they took on disappointments, responsibilities, even emotions that weren't theirs to begin with. The irony? The better they got at carrying it all, the less likely anyone was to notice the cost. And shockingly, the most empathetic people are often the most at risk. The more deeply you feel the moods, words, and silences of others, the more likely you are to get emotionally drained. Every difficult conversation, every unspoken tension, every moment of emotional labor, all of it adds up, especially if you never give yourself space to recover. At some point, your system just can't hold it anymore. That's when numbness creeps in, not because someone suddenly stops caring, but because it's become impossible to care at full volume all the time. Joy doesn't light you up like it used to. Sadness feels muted. Even your anger becomes flat. It's that feeling of always operating on a low battery, not deeply unhappy, but no longer fully alive. You're managing life, not really living it. And most people around you can't tell the difference. If you're feeling seen right now, take a second to like this video and leave a comment telling us what emotional exhaustion means to you. Your experience might help someone else realize they're not alone. This state is often misunderstood, even by those experiencing it. From the outside, it looks like indifference, laziness, or withdrawal. On the inside, it's a quiet panic. How long can I keep this up? Why do even the smallest things feel overwhelming? Why does everything feel like effort? The answer is almost never laziness. It's depletion. When your internal reserves are empty, even issues that would have once bounced off you now feel crushing. Another painful truth is that emotionally exhausted adults often struggle with guilt. They wonder why they can't simply be grateful, or why they don't enjoy things the way they used to. They compare their inside struggles to others' outsides, forgetting that everyone's invisible weights are different. This comparison only deepens the pain. And beneath it all, there's another layer. Unexpressed emotion doesn't just vanish. It weighs down the body as muscle tension, headaches, restlessness, even chronic fatigue, a collection of symptoms that don't always get traced back to their emotional source. If emotional exhaustion has a secret language, it's the habit of explaining instead of actually feeling. You get good at describing your emotions, intellectualizing your pain, even coaching yourself through it. But all that analysis creates a distance. You're aware of your feelings without any of the relief that comes from actually honoring them. Socially, things get even trickier. Emotionally exhausted adults tend to withdraw, not out of indifference, but from sheer survival. Even the prospect of small talk can feel draining. Caring relationships, which used to be energizing, become overwhelming. It's a painful paradox. You're desperate for connection, but have nothing left to give. So, you step back, and suddenly people think you don't care, which only intensifies your inner struggle. Inside, there's often a quiet, unnamed grief. Grief for the lighter version of yourself, for the easy connections and everyday joy that used to come naturally. It's not the result of a single tragedy. It's 1,000 tiny losses, each one a moment where you put others' needs before your own, without ever stopping to count the cost. It's a slow fading of identity. Worse still, so much of our identity is tied up in how dependable, supportive, or productive we are. When exhaustion hits, it isn't just physical. You start to wonder if you've lost your value. Taking a break or doing less doesn't feel like self-care. It feels like falling behind or letting people down. And the world doesn't really help. High-functioning adults are praised for their resilience and composure, making it easy for everyone, including themselves, to ignore the warning signs until something inside actually breaks. Over time, this outward success masks the inability to feel motivated, to focus, to find meaning in things that once mattered. You find yourself saying, "It'll get better after this week, after this deadline, after this next phase." But there's always another deadline, another responsibility waiting to fill the space. If you're still watching and finding any of this familiar, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps us reach more people who need to hear these messages. What's the real message behind emotional exhaustion? At its core, it's a call for attention, a gentle but persistent signal that your inner world needs care. For emotionally exhausted adults, genuine rest feels uncomfortable. Self-care often comes with guilt. Even admitting you need help feels unnatural, like it would make you a burden. But that mindset is part of the exhaustion cycle, believing you have to do everything yourself, that asking for support is a weakness, that rest must be earned. All the while, the mind and body are screaming for a different approach. Not a complete life overhaul, but a shift in how you relate to yourself. A willingness to notice your own fatigue, numbness, sadness, and to offer compassion instead of criticism. Emotional exhaustion is not a sign of weakness, and it doesn't mean you're broken. It's a system response to long-term emotional demand without enough recovery. For healing to happen, it starts with small steps, giving yourself permission to rest, to say no, to feel even the uncomfortable emotions. It's about learning where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins, and letting go of the need to manage everything for everyone. These truths can be uncomfortable, but every mindset shift begins with a moment of honesty. If you relate to this experience, know that you are not alone, and know that growth begins with noticing, not perfection. If you found value in this video, check out our other episodes about personal growth, healing, and reclaiming your sense of well-being. Remember to hit that bell so you're notified whenever we release something new. Take care of yourself and keep growing.